Hi, Tamara. It's so nice to meet you.
Carissa, nice to meet you.
What a great fun role this is for you. You get
Yeah,
to really pick things up in season two.
I know. I feel very, very lucky. This was like an incredible gift.
So when we last saw Sheriff Joy, she was
Yeah.
unwittingly following, I guess, the ooze. I guess that's what she was
Ooze?
following.
Yeah, let's call it the
Doesn't
ooze.
it? They call it the mineral, but
Yeah.
it's oozy.
To the naked eye, it looked like some weird oil that was coming out of the ground. So why not follow it?
She didn't know it was time itself. Who
No,
would? Who would?
no.
So there she is. She's now back in time, and we see this on the trailer and stuff, so it's not really a spoiler. This is where she is.
Yeah.
Um, what's it like getting to play with that? And I think it's always fascinating to just have fun with imagining what it would be like to find yourself stuck in time with
Yeah.
no discernible way out.
I would say it was quite an emotional experience because of all the places that she could have gone to, um, there, and I remember early discussions of when she was going to go to, and life is very different to go pre-contact. If you're going back to Joy's ancestors, the Shoshone people, life looks very different. There's still warfare going on. You still have the Cheyenne, you still have some other, certainly there's politics, there's, dealing with just survival. But the difference between pre-contact and post-contact, the difference between settler encroachment at different stages in American history, that she went back to this time where already there are treaties in place, there are land agreements. It was a highly um, volatile situation. And to throw her into, 1880s, um, yeah, I wouldn't say that part was fun. It was kind of remembering. I thought of stories of my great great grandmother who rode bareback and used to raid some of the Mountie stations in Canada. There were like the warehouse where they would keep all the extra food. So these are stories that I grew up with from my mother, who this critical moment where you're either choosing, do you side here, do you make agreements, do is there allyship, or do you just run and hide and protect your family? So I don't know, I felt that there was a lot of processing going on during that time.
And she doesn't really get to protect her family while she's there, but I'm sure she's thinking nonstop about how do I get back to my family, of
Yeah,
course. And
yeah,
what can change while you're there.
yeah. I think the she at least is, Joy is honest that she was not in a great way, that her marriage was not in a great way, that she was already compromising her own values to get a murder conviction in the investigation she was working on, to run for, sheriff, and how that affected her family and her marriage. So, the gift is she got a good time out to think about the things that she's done and how she would do things differently. And yeah, she does a lot of growing up in season two that only benefits the present.
And how does living in that volatile time and seeing what everybody else has gone through to get her and her people where they are now, how does that change how she reacts and views herself as a law person and as a family member?
Yeah, I think, there's a nice kind of thread of, being a mother, being a partner, being a sheriff, being a leader, um, this kind of mama bear protectiveness. That really is what is the force that grows inside of her, um, especially coming out of experiences where she felt she has no agency and she was silenced, not really even silenced, like she was silencing herself. So for her to find her voice and for her, I think, to be thrown into this very critical moment, that's what, like, the stakes are so high. And I think she needs to see the stakes so high. We're talking life and death. We're talking the, an erasure of a people, of a culture. That's the wake up call she needs, that you don't mess around. You stand up for what you believe and you protect the people who need to be protected, and you fight for truth. You fight for truth, you fight for love. And hopefully, unfortunately, fine, you have to travel through time to learn that lesson. But um, you know,
I think
that's
it's
what
sometimes you can look at it as a lucky thing. When you're at that pinnacle of not really knowing where you're going and maybe falling onto a bad place, if you
absolutely.
would have that wake up call, it's a bizarre wake up call, but very, very potent.
Yes, and I do think that's why I think season two is a gift for Joy, a much needed wake up call, and a an opportunity for growth in a very short period of time.
And it's not just a gift um, for Joy, but it's also a gift for Tamara because
Yeah.
you get some really incredible material here to work with. I mean, I
Yeah,
think
this
your whole story trajectory changes.
it was that was it was a huge gift. I've never been given that privilege or space to tell a story on that scale. It was also very special because it was a reunion of so many people that I've worked with. Like, to have Black Horse Low, who I've known. I mean, we came up together in the indie film world. To have Randy Redroad, who was one of the co-writers of the episode, who I did, Native youth workshops with like 20 years ago. Heather Ray, we had two Indigenous other associate producers on. To have 80 Indigenous background performers, like, it was, and the second you get a community together like that, you all are like, oh, and I don't, do you know this person? You know this person? It's like, it is such a tight knit family. Also, Kimberly Guerrero, who stars as Falling Star, we go way back. I mean, you can't put that many native actors together who don't, like, we've all known each other forever. And that was just a beautiful team work that pulled off that episode.
And I don't think it's a time that gets showcased very often. You mentioned at the beginning of the interview how, it's this place where the treaties have already been taken place and stuff. And yet what watching what that actually means in action is is absolutely fascinating. I think that it's going to open a lot of eyes. I don't think that people are aware of that. And for a show like this, which is looked at kind of as a sci-fi kind of odd show, to really put that much weight on the subject matter, I think is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I think that, the other cool thing that might make it a little bit more easier to understand is because we're speaking English in this time. We're speaking Shoshone too. That was another huge thing that was a beautiful incorporation into that world in that episode. But privately, when we're speaking English, it's a very cool way into a world that might seem so far away, that might be so hard to contextualize or understand. But you're bringing in modern characters to make sense of
Yeah.
a world from before. So that also is a very kind of a cool trick of how to engage the audience and maybe bring them a little bit deeper into another way to see that time.
And how would you explain Joy's journey throughout the season?
I think Joy grows up. I think Joy is given a chance to be the hero that she was always meant to be. I think in another version of Outer Range, where we could track, 7 years of life and development, she might have reached this point in season seven. But because of the time travel way that we get to condense things, and uh you know this is Joy's really coming into herself. That's what we get to witness, and it's a beautiful, heartbreaking, but also you're cheering her on. I fight for her. I love her. I believe in her so much, and I want such great things for her. So this was season two was really a that part was a joy to finally, witness. It's like one of your children because you believe in them so much. You're like, why do you keep making stupid decisions? You're just cringing every time. And she made some calls in season one that were questionable, and so I'm very proud of who she becomes in season two.
As will viewers be. Really,
Yeah.
really good stuff.
Oh
Thank you
yeah.
so much
Thank
for talking with
you.
me today.